Afternoon, you ruddy lovely people. News coming out over the last few days that Ange Postecoglou will likely be leaving Tottenham Hotspur at the end of this season, whether we win the Europa League or not. I think most of us could have seen this news coming. Recent press conferences that he's done, little things that he's said here and there. I think he knows his time is nearly up at Spurs, like John Cena. And I've got to be honest with you guys, I'm glad about this. If we go on to win the Europa League, it'll be thanks Ange for the memories, but that for me shouldn't give him a buy and give him a chance next season to compete in the Champions League. 18 league losses simply isn't good enough. And if we do have Ange Postecoglou as a manager next season in the Champions League, we will get ripped to absolute shreds. So I find this to be good news. I think Ange knows he's on the way out, but he did say earlier in the season and constantly says, I always win things in my second season, so he's trying to prove that to himself, and he's also trying to keep his career successful, keep his career on track. If he can go on and win the Europa League, then leave Spurs, he can say, I've won more than any Spurs manager has since 2007, which would be a correct statement and could get him a job at another Premier League club. So I think he knows he's on the way out. I think the Spurs fans know he's on the way out. I'd like an announcement, in all honesty, that Ange will be leaving at the end of the season. So then the sort of Ange out stuff calms down a little bit. We all agree that that he's leaving, whether we want him to or not, and know that that's going to happen. And then we're just behind him for the few games that we've got left. I mean, a lot of people would argue, and some of you guys might argue it. If you do, I'd be happy to debate in the comments section down below. So please do let me know. Many people argue, if he wins the Europa League, he deserves a chance next season, just like he deserved the chance this season, even though the end of last season was poor, because he got us into fifth and because of the beginning of the season. But I can't make exceptions for 18 league losses. I can't make exceptions for the 4-0 at Anfield that I saw, the performance of Villa in the FA Cup. This season, apart from Europe, has just been an absolute disaster. But we have got Europe. We are in a semi-final. It's winnable against Bodo Glimt. You know, let's hope he can get us over the line. Let's hope we'll be saying thanks, Ange, for the memories, and thanks for giving us our biggest achievement since 1991. Although a majority of his tenure has been pretty poor, apart from those first 10 games, a huge majority has been. But he could be leaving the Spurs after getting us, as I say, our most successful achievement in donkey's years. So I think Ange will want to win that Europa League for himself and for the group of players. The players obviously will, to get the Champions League football next season and to lift that trophy at Spurs. And us as fans, nothing means more than winning a trophy. We haven't done it since 2007. So look, I'm glad to hear this news. When Ange Postecoglou first came in, I was one of the people who went against those who were saying no to Postecoglou. We can do better than that. And I found it very arrogant. I said, give this guy a chance at least. Let's see what he can do in his second season. First season started brilliantly, and I'll be the first to hold my hands up and say I was fully behind the guy. Fully behind the fella. But the first sort of crack started to show in that Chelsea game. The rest of the season, we started to fall apart a little bit. Teams had a blueprint when it comes to playing us. First 10 games of the season, they were still trying to figure out what we were doing, because it was a very different Spurs style of play to the one that teams were coming up against when we had Conte as manager, Jose as manager, even years ago under Poch. So still trying to get used to it. But once teams got used to it, we became unbelievably predictable. The end of last season wasn't great. The beginning of this season was pretty up and down like a yo-yo. And then since around November time, it's just been a complete and utter domestic disaster. It really, really has. It's been completely horrific in the Premier League. So look, his tenure will go down if he doesn't win the Europa League as one of the worst Spurs managers in history. If he does win the Europa League, he will go down as one of the most successful Spurs managers we've had in 40, 50 years. How much this Europa League can change and how much this Europa League can alter our perception of Ange once he does go. Look, who would you guys like to come in? For me, I've got to be realistic. I'd love to say Inzaghi, but we're not going to get Inzaghi. Why would he leave Inter Milan for Spurs? I do think we're an attractive enough prospect to get in someone like an Iraola maybe. Thomas Frank I think would be harder because he's got that real connection to the Brentford fans. And whilst Iraola's doing a fantastic job at Bournemouth, I don't think he's got that same sort of connection. So I think you could try and get him in, maybe a Glasner. I heard that he's quite interested in Thomas Frank. I think those are the type of managers who could come in. I think those are the type of managers who would do a better job than Postecoglou. And I don't think we'd be able to attract managers better. And I don't want to see us going for people like Scott Parker. A season ago it was rumoured about Company. I don't want us to go for these guys. Guys, Who would you like as the next manager? What do you think about this news? As to say, nothing set in stone, nothing coming out from your top sources, but a lot of newspapers reporting it. And when you watch Ange Postecoglou in his press conferences now, the little snippets and things that he comes out and says, he's even said himself he doesn't, expect to be here next season. So we are heading for a new manager, but we have got a few big games coming up in the Europa League, hopefully 3, at least 2. Let's hope Ange Postecoglou can finish what's been a horrific campaign and really a horrific tenure as Spurs coach on a real high and leave us with some fantastic memories. Guys, I'm going to make like a banana and split. Take care, and as always, come on you Spurs.